Okay, now we're going to learn a new fingering for the G chord. Now, the way we played it earlier was with our second finger, our first, the open strings, and our third finger on top. It's a nice fingering and it uses all very strong fingers. It works really well. It's especially good for when we change from G to D7. And back again. Remember we talked about that? It's a nice change. The fingers work well together. There are several ways to finger this chord though, and sometimes when we're moving between C and G, we might choose a different fingering. Here's the other fingering that everybody plays. You should learn both, and you'll just sort of pick the fingering you want in the moment once you're really used to them, whichever fingering works best, depending on what chord you're going to or coming from. So the new fingering for the G chord, we're going to use our third finger on the low G, just like we did in the G7. We're going to use our second finger on the low B, which is on the second fret of the fifth string. The middle strings are open. Now use your pinky, your little finger, on the third fret of the first string. So all the frets, all the notes are the same, but we're using a different set of fingers. And we're doing that, for one thing, everyone plays both these fingerings. You kind of need to know it. It's also a nice fingering for moving to C. See, my fingers don't have to move a lot when I do that. I've got my G chord. Now to move to C, my third and second fingers are just going to go down a set of strings, and my first finger comes over. That's a movement I'd like you to just practice. Just play G, move to C. Play G, move to C. When you come back, we're going to do Brahms' Lullaby together, and I will be using the new fingering for the G chord throughout. Now before we play the next song, which is When the Saints Go Marching In, which is a classic New Orleans jazz song, I want to show you something about the strum pattern. If you look at the music, you'll see the strum pattern looks like just plain simple quarter notes. Now if I play them like regular old quarter notes, it sounds something like this. That works nicely in like a folk kind of setting. But that's not how a jazz guy would play it. It doesn't have the right rhythmic feel. It should feel a little bit more like this. Alright, so let me show you how I'm doing that. It might take a while for you to get this, but it's a nice little technique. So what I'm doing is on the counts, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. On 1 and 3, tending to play just the lower strings, and on 2 and 4, I'm playing all the strings. So that gives me the accent that you see in your music. So low strings on 1 and 3, all the strings on 2 and 4. So that gives me a natural accent. One more time. 2, 3, 4. The other thing I was doing was I was cutting all the chords short. The way I was cutting them short was by letting my right hand or my left hand do exactly the thing I've been telling you not to do all along. I've been leaning it back after I play the chord. And what does that do? It automatically mutes the other strings. So that cuts the chord short. Remember, we said we don't want to lean the fingers backwards because it will mute the strings. Here we're going to do it on purpose. That takes a fair amount of coordination and a while to get. But if you try, you'll eventually get it, and it gives you a nice effect. So all I'm doing to mute is I play the chord, I flatten my fingers, and they stop, and the notes stop ringing.